Wow. Wow. I've got to apologise. I've just heard that music, and oh my giddy aunt, if I wasn't asleep, I am now. Welcome back, everyone. Bonus episode here. We're into season 2, episode 15, bonus episode when we look and rip apart what we like to call our show, which looked at professional courtesy in health and safety. Des, mate, great for you to join us here. How are you today, Des?
Good.
Awkward.
Sorry,
Okay.
I had to throw that in there, but I'm doing good. Thank you very much for asking.
That was just a weird, as we were, like, I don't want to say prepping Mark, because then it makes it look like we actually planned this and we knew what we were talking about, and all those non-believers will think we've planned this. But hey, listen, a part of the special episode section, we drag in a special guest, and this week's special guest is doing a bumper episode. Not only did they provide a disclaimer in the live show, but we have convinced them wholeheartedly in the last minute to jump on the special episode. Mark, how are you this afternoon?
Good, thanks, Brenton, and Des, good to see you. I feel as if it's a guest presentation or appearance in the absence of another consultant, perhaps.
Mate, we couldn't have planned this any better. We are looking for an Andy 2.0 and auditioning for the roles. so that could be you. The thing though about you, I've just noticed your background there, mate. Like, is that what you can afford as a consultant? Is that the lap of luxury that you live in? Des and I can barely feed our families, and you've got a swimming pool and a hotel looking environment.
It's a very aspirational image, I can assure you.
Oh,
nothing real in this picture at all, other than myself, perhaps.
Oh, is that right? And
who knows those consultants in Pukekohe that we may not know.
Talk about consultants, never on time, always one for a party.
Filling in for you, Andy.
Honestly, I haven't even said a word and I'm being insulted already.
I was just commenting on Mark's lap of luxury that he seems to be living in with his background image. I was asking if all consultants live like that. I mean, we've never seen your house, Andy. Is yours like that?
That's the penthouse apartment on the roof, isn't it, Mark?
I can't possibly comment.
He lives on the floor above me.
Tell you,
his swimming pool comes down into my kitchen.
We meet for breakfast every day.
Wow. Des, I think we might need to reconsider our thing. Hey, so Mark, couple of things before we crack into your thoughts on professional courtesy in health and safety. What do you do, mate? We obviously figured it out. You're a consultant. Where are you based? What do you do? Give us a bit of a rundown. Sell your wares, mate. You sell your snake oil, as I like to tell Andy.
Yeah, no snake oil here, Andy. Based in Highbrook here in Auckland. Have a handful of clients, and a large percentage of those are construction based, but with a speciality in the electrical contracting space. That was bought out of an in-house role I had, and I've been able to build a business from that with their support, and all existing clients have come along for the ride. So always looking to electrical contractors aren't the only type of client we've got. Engineering, plumbing, warehousing, etc. So out there looking to partner with clients, basically.
Okay, I've just got to ask Andy and Des to stop having private chats while I'm trying to run a show here.
It says private chat.
Private.
The sign says private chat.
Yeah. But just as a point, that little window goes over my face when I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
I apologise, Mark. I didn't realise.
Mark, so we called the Circus of Safety for more than one reason. Clearly, we have no idea what we're doing here. And the fact that people consider paying this clown money to do stuff is
even more... me is Andy and I do go back a wee way. He was another guest role, wasn't it? A guest lecturer in a certain diploma some years back. And then I saw him present at a conference, and included a prop, which he almost impaled himself on the javelin.
Yeah, that's the first time I met Des.
Wow.
There you go.
There we go. What do you know?
And people remember. No one can remember what I talked about, but they remember the javelin.
That's not uncommon. I don't remember what you talk about on the show either. I've got to go back and listen to the notes. Well, Mark. Well, hey, listen. Firstly, thank you for joining us. Also, thank you for your guest disclaimer last week. Vigorating. Although we did have an argument. Was it a disclaimer or just some trumped up, pumped up version to promote Des?
No, there was a genuine element around disclaiming whatever it was we were disclaiming. It did involve Des, of course, but it wasn't. It was. I had the pleasure of sitting through a presentation he did, and I was perhaps a crash test dummy on one level, but certainly the content was really valid for the time and the subject that was being presented. Which, I've extended this comment publicly that perhaps it's worthy of getting in front of the current minister and all of her diligent work in the safety world and the review, etc.
Yeah, well, we'd love to. We might have to send Des there in person to say that. But hey, I reckon we get into it. I mean, Mark, you seem like a very personable kind of person. The topic last week, professional courtesy in health and safety. I mean, initially, if I was to ask you to sum up your thoughts, just in a short ramble, thoughts on it, professional courtesy and occupational health and safety. Is there such a thing, I guess? What do you think?
My natural default is yes. Certainly, I think it comes right back to that whole line of communication, and through that, the development of relationships and networks, and through that, providing a professional courtesy on a number of different levels, whether it's the knowledge that you want to impart, the service you want to try and apply or offer a client. And I've got a recent example of that where my situation in terms of where my office is based is in a wider complex, and there's a number of different aspects of one particular client, which happens to be my landlord, and they've got a number of parts of operations, so from manufacturing to warehousing, and I've arranged a professional meeting with WorkSafe New Zealand's local manager, and just wanted to press the flesh and build relationships as you do. But out of a case of professional courtesy, I've let the landlord know that WorkSafe would be on site should the WorkSafe manager use his eyes and spot something that might not quite be in place. So,
I was suddenly wondering where this was going. I'm like, suddenly your rent's going to be going up, Mark. Wow, I'm glad you clarified that. It's listen, I'm no expert. I mean, I'm not a consultant, obviously. But did you ever think about going to a cafe somewhere else? Just putting that out there on the table?
Absolutely. But I do have a small team, and it's a prime opportunity to have them in the office for a couple of other things, and as well as this opportunity that's arisen. So, but hey, thank you for your concern. Yes, that had been crossed my mind.
And how did
he doesn't care? You're a consultant.
So looking at that example of professional courtesy, I mean that's a great example, and thanks for bringing that up. How did you approach that? I mean, and how was it received? I guess I'd be fascinated to understand. I mean, did you just drop an email, flick a sneaky text, maybe a Snapchat? I mean, yeah, and how was it received?
So far, so good. The meeting is yet to happen, of course, but I have communicated that originally was going to be a face-to-face contact with the said manager in terms of the landlord aspect of it. But however, I've defaulted to an email in the absence of that conversation, just due to a time frame thing. So I'm sure it will be accepted and received in the right manner.
Now, sorry, I seem to be on with all the questions here. I mean, to be fair, Mark, this was my topic that I put on the wheel after a run-in with somebody that I guess you would consider a colleague as a consultant. And no, it wasn't Andy, because I have weekly, daily run-ins with him. What is the response going to be though from you? I guess you've gone out of your way to make your landlord aware of said visit to try to make them aware of it. What if they decline said request? Well, I mean, where do you think you're going to go from there?
Well, I think you've already provided me a solution. Thank you very much in advance. But I can't imagine it will be. However, I think the off-site option is absolutely the right one. Whether that's a local cafe or one a bit further away, a Pukekohe or something like that, who knows?
Cloud 777 in Mount Wellington, just FYI, they've got a nice small room you can use. Make great coffee, and have a good feed, and a great way to bribe a WorkSafe. To make them feel invited and welcomed into it. I guess that's an interesting question, and this might be going off topic a little bit, and I'm sure Des will step in here and finally say something if I am. But is bribing a WorkSafe official professional courtesy, or is that just outright illegal? Des, your thoughts?
Yeah, outright illegal. But thanks for letting me get a word in. That was nice. But I think there's something that we haven't really talked about in the main show when this topic came up, but it seems to be a consistent theme, is the idea of getting face to face with someone. Yeah. A lot of the grievances that we seem to have around professional courtesy seem to revolve around email.
Yes.
And I just wonder if face to face is kind of the way to do it.
And that's a great point, Des, because to be fair, that's how my situation kicked off. To be fair, consultant fired through an email through official communication channels, which not disputing what he was raising was incorrect. It was the manner in which it was done and the failure to communicate other said things that were positively occurring on site to try and address said issues. Mark, what are your thoughts around how we communicate to maintain that professional courtesy? I mean, obviously, you're trying to do a combination there. I mean, any words of wisdom from you on that one?
Well, I think striving to have that one-on-one scenario, whether it's catch up in the car park or a cafe or a meeting room, etc., but that's almost irrelevant. But I think the key to it is having that one-on-one or group scenario with the said people, and I think it becomes a bit wider ranging than just the single subject. And in this particular case, we're using it to draw in a number of different things, from where is WorkSafe heading, etc., through to what's my team looking to learn from the opportunity, etc. So it's more than just a single focus, and it just builds that whole relationship and information gathering, learning, education.
No, fantastic. Interested to get your insights too, Mark. I mean, as a consultant, you've mentioned you work for a number of organisations, plumbers, electrical wholesale contractors, etc. I guess in Des and R's world, you would effectively often be, I guess by the sounds of it, be working for contractors that would engage, that people like myself, where I currently am employed and Des is employed, we'd be engaging those said services that you support. I mean, how do you go about maintaining kind of a relationship with any in-house service providers from, say, the main contractor?
Yeah, it's a good point, because in both your cases, I have been the third-party provider to my client, which is a subcontractor to both your organisation. So I think a lot of our game, our industry, etc., is all about that relationship, and that's exactly the attitude I take towards it. And it's building the relationship with, whether it's you as the operations manager or you as the health and safety manager for your representative organisations, building that rapport, that relationship with each other, so we know where each other's coming from. So when things, I can pull on other experiences and other roles I've had well before this, is that building or taking that time to build the relationship really helps when things start to get tough. And I'm not talking about probably in this case, it's probably more around build time frames, etc., when things start to get sticky or crushed or compressed, where each other then have an understanding of each other's drivers and situation. It really does help for that end result.
Some fantastic insights there. And I guess that's like you said. I think you keep circling back to one word that I keep picking up on, and I don't know if there's because I don't know where Andy's gone. He seems to have fallen asleep.
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. You seem to be circling. Oh, so maybe I will reach out to Andy. The key word you keep circling back to that I'm picking up is the word relationships. I mean, Andy, are you picking up the same vibe that I'm getting? And what are your thoughts on Mark's comments regarding relationships?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely spot on. I would go a step further and say it's actually about building trust.
Well,
And that's really what it's about. It's about building trust. And if you've got that trusting relationship, then you don't need to send the email and shut your account down. You know, you don't need to send the email and rush off out. You can just go and engage and give them a call. And the face-to-face is something that makes a massive difference in most cases, because there's that whole heap of unspoken communication that exists in that format. And just going up and saying, hi, how are you going? As opposed to, you haven't done this. Because you would never really say that face-to-face, because there's a different pressure. There's a different pressure on you. I know in your world it's different, Brenton. I was just going to ask, the case that you were talking about a minute ago, was that this week's, last week's, the week before, the months before? Which one was it?
Oh no! Well, the one that got on the wheel, mate, that was like last year sometime. I've had another one last week, which I'm tempted to dive into, but in the interests of not throwing stones in glass houses, I may refrain from said things. I'd hate to end up in a robust conversation about it at some point in the near future. Mark, interested to get your thoughts, and I'll circle back around to Des to get his opinion on it as well. Where that relationship, or as Andy pointed out, that trust breakdown, what is your opinion? And this is an opinion. There's no right or wrong answer. I mean, we might ridicule you afterwards for it, but what is your opinion?
Right.
What is your opinion on? Do you think a lot of it comes down to ego? Is it an ego-driven thing that potentially then leads to a breakdown in conversations when it comes to, say, health and safety professionals working alongside each other, regardless of whether it's probably more so in that consultant in-house kind of space? Because if any of my safety advisors try to show no professional courtesy, there'd be an HR issue going on. But what are your thoughts there around ego and how that gets involved and how that can impact professional courtesy and safety?
I think there could be an element of it. However, just my own personal experience is that the wider safety sector, to me, is very accommodating, and it's not. We're not trying to sell or buy farms or anything along this. This is if I've got an idea, I'm more than happy to share it with Andy, and likewise, I'm sure, or even probably Des, perhaps if he was going to answer his email. But at the end of the day, very collaborative is probably the word I'm looking for. To the point where I'm working alongside a number of other, arguably they're my direct competitors, but we don't seem to be cutting each other's cheese. In fact, we're working collaboratively in terms of achieving a bigger result collectively, rather than trying to stand out there individually.
I mean, Des, what's your takeaway from that? Ego, or is it just misunderstood communication?
I think there is a bit of ego in there, but I do wonder if people feel like they need to assume a role. And what I mean by that is, I've interacted with people who are otherwise great people to interact with, but they're in a client role and they see themselves as having to act in a certain way. And that's not that. I wouldn't put that down to ego. I think that's just this idea that they need to play this character that's a bit of a dick.
Yeah, wow.
Just further to that, Brenton, is I think, regardless of what trade it is, but I think some businesses within a certain trade or across trades, from a consultant's perspective, you will, in the back of your mind, have an understanding or exactly the professional courtesy around not necessarily working with or providing some situation that might be create some sort of clash within the client space rather than the safety space. Mindful of that.
Yeah, yep. No, and I guess that comes back down to knowing what the environment you're working in, right? And knowing the environment you're working in. Um, you raised a good point, and I actually had some notes when we were planning about 5 minutes before we went on air and thinking who could we drag in at the last minute to fill a spot, and your name came up. Apparently, if you need to get hold of Des, just use the private chat. He seems to be responding to that quite
Right.
frequently. Your name came up because I remember we caught up with for a beer a number of months ago, and we spoke about. I think you just touched on it now. Working with effectively, arguably, your competitors, and how you can work in unison along that line. I mean, how are you finding that? And I mean, I guess what are some of the keys to successfully working alongside your competitors and maintaining that level of professional courtesy?
Can I just a small correction? It was lemonades that we were having, or a cup of tea, wasn't it?
You might have been drinking lemonade, mate. I was drinking beer.
Yeah,
in fact, there was one right now, to be fair.
Yeah, true that. I can't go too much further away from what I've probably already been saying around that relationship. And if you've got one and you can build it and potentially see an advantage out of partnering with another consultant, whether it's just in I don't mind sharing that. I've got a number of consultants that I have more of a collegial relationship rather than a business-related relationship with.
Yep. Oh, great.
And I guess that whole that scenario can, I guess, I'd be supportive on another level in terms of running a business and the potential barriers and hassles of running a business, and potentially the welfare aspect of that. I'm not too sure in a in-house role you'd get that, would you? Or Andy understands where I'm coming from.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, definitely.
Last it was interesting though, and I guess this is where I'm leading into this. Last week, Andy touched on. I'm just trying to find my notes here. Intellectual property. And the use of, and how that then links across to professional courtesy. And I don't know whether it's having to dig at me or Des or both of us for stealing his material and plagiarizing it relentlessly. But I mean, how do you balance that, Mark? I mean, you've obviously, as a consultant in particular, you've got your wares as such. You've got your IP that you're trying to sell. I mean, how do you draw that line? How do you find that balance between sharing that information and working alongside each other, but still maintaining your IP, so that if you both find yourself in a situation where you're bidding for the same client? I mean, how do you differentiate that? How do you walk that balance? How do you walk that line? Reminds me of Johnny Cash, actually.
Yeah, there's probably two aspects from in my experience. Is there's that situation where you say protect it. I make my point before that it is quite an open source or friendly collaborative environment, the safety sector. So I think it can be as simple as, hey, do you mind if I use that? That's really relative to what I'm doing. I've got another example where I've got another brand that's quite different to your monkey one. However, Safety Guy is a caricature, and I've registered that as a trademark. So there's that, I guess, the more casual end of the equation versus the more technical end.
Yeah, cool. Can we just pause this for a minute, Andy?
Mm-hmm.
Have we got this monkey stuff trademarked?
No.
Oh,
Pending.
shit. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. Cool. We might need an emergency meeting after this. Thanks, Mark.
I don't know whether we need to.
We've got to go. No, great point. And I guess that all comes back down to that trust and that relationship piece again, right? Which I think is what we keep circling back to. I mean, Des, anything from you on that at all?
I think it's fundamental to the way we do our jobs, and it's not just a matter of professional courtesy. It's probably just a matter of being effective in your role, whether you're a consultant or an in-house. You need to be able to establish trust and relationships just in order to be effective at any level.
No, fantastic. Mike, interested in your thoughts. We touched on. I mean, I've seen in your LinkedIn profile, you're clearly a member of the New Zealand Institute of Safety Management. Are you on the HAZANS register? Just out of curiosity.
I certainly am.
There we go. Did you join when it became free, like I did?
No, well ahead of that. Yeah,
You're one of those people that actually
adopter.
Sucker.
early adopter, love it. I just had to agree to some kind of some statements about trust and ethics and a whole bunch of stuff. But I mean, how much of a role do you think organisations like NZISM, so the New Zealand Institute of Safety Management, for those people listening outside of New Zealand, because Mark, guess what? Believe it or not, we have people that listen to us outside of New Zealand. So I guess the governing body for safety in whatever jurisdiction, country, place you live in, how much of a role do you think they have to play in helping us set the standard or the guidelines around professional courtesy and how we interact with each other?
Yeah, that probably extends to that credibility thing from a consultant or an in-house role as a practitioner, being part of those for the right reasons, and what some of those right reasons might be are that, that professionalism and those structures that you refer to.
Yeah, no, cool. Excellent. Hey, listen. Well, I mean, for me, it's been an enlightening. Sometimes I feel like maybe I'm out of touch, and so it's really great to. And Andy, I don't really know if he's a real consultant, but it's been really good from my perspective to listen to somebody that actually has boots on the ground. And before we start to wrap this up, Andy, I mean, do you have anything you'd like to I don't know, engage with Mark on, talk to him about, or I mean, are you just double invoicing here, mate? Like by the looks of it, you looks like you're preoccupied.
Yeah, no, it's interesting having another consultant on, because the role is very, very different to the role that you two guys occupy.
What we actually work, you just push stuff around.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's a very different world, and it's interesting listening to another consultant speak about it. And the whole collaboration thing is good, and it works to a point until it doesn't. And that's the weirdest thing, is that, me and Mark, we've met several times. I think we get on pretty well. We share similar views in lots of things, but that doesn't mean to say that we could both be bidding for exactly the same piece of work in a few months' time. And it's in my mind, the professionalism there would be to get the job on merit, not by telling everyone how crap Mark is, and vice versa. And I think that's where it can get a bit messy. Yep. And we touched on it in the show, it's that whole thing is accepting that we've all got strengths and weaknesses in the consultant space, and trying to fight fair, I guess, in that situation, as opposed to dishing the dirt on people. And I know the dishing the dirt thing happens because I've witnessed it, and I've been the victim of it.
Oh,
so I think
do you want to talk about it?
Nothing to do with me, just quietly. Yeah.
No, not at all. I'm sure you've experienced the same thing, Mark, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's okay. We're in this. It's fair. Okay, I might be more expensive. That's cool. I can live with that. If someone gets it because they're cheaper, but if they get it because they're cheaper and they've dissed me, then that's not right. Mm. And I think that, for me, that's what the professional ethics is really about. It's not about joining an association to tell you you've got to be ethical. The whole ethical thing sits deep within you, and it's that whole belief of doing the right thing and what's fair.
Yeah, and I think to your point about. Sorry, what's that, Brent?
I was just saying, and this whole time I thought Andy wasn't listening. Take it away, Mark.
To Andy's point around skill sets and that whole collaboration thing that I mentioned before with the other consultants, and that was exactly where it's at. Each of us have a different skill set. There's a bit of overlapping, of course, that's natural. But there are different things that people do that we can pull together to help us.
Oh, fantastic.
Des, cool.
Your final thoughts, mate, on professional courtesy and health and safety after listening to Mark?
I think it's been interesting that a lot of what we've discussed today wasn't in the show from last week. So we've actually managed to build on the conversation and discuss some new things, which has been pretty interesting.
No, it sure has. I mean, I've got a ton more questions, and and I don't know where we take this, whether we do a second bonus episode with Mark or whether we just put it on the back burner for the day.
I don't know if we can afford him.
Well, in the mail.
It's in the mail. Yeah.
Bloody consultants.
Hey, Mark, we'll send you a free cup, mate.
Thank you so much. But I think Mr. Evans may have shared one with me earlier. We were having lemonade one day.
Has he now? Hey, listen, Mark, thanks heaps, mate. Listen, your insights into, from I guess as a consultant on the ground, some of the insightful experiences you've provided have been invaluable, and I'm sure people will take a ton away from it. What have you got coming up in the next couple of weeks, mate? You got a busy couple of weeks ahead, or what are you doing?
Yeah, well, part of my wider role and the scope of business that I undertake is I have a workplace division and I have an events division, and within the events division, I do a bit of motorsport, where I pick up the pieces when things don't go quite so well, but also in the entertainment world. And Iron Maiden's not far away from coming to New Zealand, so I get to sit behind the black screen and make sure things are safe behind there as well. So, yeah, a bit of exciting, bit of difference.
Wow. Now, that would have been an interesting example of professional, although that's more professionalism. How do you go to an Iron Maiden concert, sit behind a black screen, make sure everybody else is safe without snorting lines of coke and drinking bottles of whiskey? I mean, God damn it, I know.
It can be done. The event hasn't happened yet either.
What, Andy? I'm just saying what everyone else wants to be saying. That's the problem with the world today.
It'll be safe, though, Brenton. It'll be safe.
Nice. I'm sure it will be. Do all the work up front, right? Do all the work up front. Yeah. Des, what are you up to, mate, before the show later on the next couple of days?
Well, jeepers. More study and I've got a bit of preparation to do to find a guest disclaimer for the next show.
Wow, you better get a wiggle on. Andy, where are you at, my mate? What are you up to?
I'm in Taupo, Lake Taupo.
Oh, nice.
Just by Lake Taupo.
You're on holiday again with the family?
On holiday with my forestry family.
His swimming pool's a bit bigger than mine. I've got pool envy.
Do not pretend to wave to somebody walking past. Honestly, come on, mate. Hey, listen, it's been absolutely a blast, Mark, having you on from a guest disclaimer, from the main show to your insights on this show. Please keep watching the show after you've been involved, because you can tell how valid those disclaimers are and how people shouldn't be taking what we say seriously, but really engaging in the conversation and putting some thought to it. So yeah, massive thank you, and no doubt we'll see you in the chat box.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
5 minutes warning's not too bad after all, I guess.
Awesome. Catch you all later and talk soon.
Thank you.